We started this program well, back in October of 2012, we launched this series, and the original purpose and goal was to create a community of learning, a group of individuals who wanted to get together on a regular basis and get some great ideas, training, guidance, and support for how to grow their mortgage practice faster. And what we found is that we've developed a very high caliber audience who's very committed to their growth. The participation has been outstanding through the course of the series, as we are now approaching our almost 100th episode in the series. And so we're excited to bring you another installment of that Maximum Performance webinar series. Of course, it is sponsored by Maximum Acceleration. My name is Eric Janesco, head coach and CEO of Maximum Acceleration. And today's program is kind of a unique program. As an originator, one of the bigger challenges that we all experience is the fact that, in today's regulatory environment, everybody is breathing down our necks, making sure, and the more corporate of an environment we work in, the less independence we have, the more important it is that, and whether you work in an independent environment or whether you work in a controlled corporate environment, either way, compliance is one of the biggest costs hanging over our heads today as an originator. And ignorance of compliance is no excuse of the law, is kind of what it comes down to. So the reality of today's environment is, as an originators, as mortgage professionals, it is paramount that we understand and recognize the importance of compliance and filtering through the pieces of communication that we create and that we send when marketing. But at the same time, we still need to, as business development professionals and as people who want to be able to provide a higher caliber of service to a wider audience of folks, we need to develop effective marketing that can still meet the needs of compliance. And in the last couple of years, that's been one of the major debates within the industry, is how do you create an effective marketing piece timely enough to promote a specific opportunity or event and get it through the compliance filters without either, one, them chopping it up to where it's so watered down it's totally ineffective, or two, it takes so long that it's useless by the time they actually finally approve it because the event we were trying to promote has already passed. So joined today by a couple of marketing experts that I am excited to turn this over to and let them take it and run with it. Guest presenters today are Ginger Bell and Jonas, who joined at the last minute at Ginger's request, who is an expert in the field of marketing, automated marketing as well, are going to be sharing with you how to balance the needs of effectiveness of marketing with still meeting the requirements of compliance in today's regulatory environment. So with that being said, Ginger, I'm going to turn it over to you. You are really, truly one of the true experts in the field of compliance and marketing and business development. Like you and I have gotten to know each other very, very well over the years. But for those of you who have not had a chance to meet Ginger, first of all, probably one of the smartest people I know, period. Secondly, just an absolute, very dynamic and engaging trainer who is probably one of the easiest to listen to and learn from that I've had the pleasure and honor of working with over the years. So Ginger, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. You take it and run us through what you got to share with us today, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks, Eric. Boy, I tell you what, that's a pretty high bar. So we'll get started and get you guys some information. Compliance is not always interesting, but it's something that's a part of everything that we're doing right now. So one of the things that was a mission for me to set out this year was to really be able to put together the compliance side of advertising. And so that way you guys can be compliant in what you're doing, but bottom line is you need to get out there and build your business. So we're going to talk about both things today, and that's one of the reasons that I invited my friend Jonas on. Jonas was actually in Portland, where I'm at, Portland, Oregon, yesterday. Flew in for the day, met with a client, and called me up and said, hey, can you do lunch? And so he said, hey, hop on this call with me. I want your expertise on it. And Jonas and I actually just did this presentation in California for the CMBA last week. So we're excited to be able to share some information. But as we start out, I want to share with you really some important information and ask you if you knew that prior to an examination, and actually many times before an examination letter is even sent out, your company, your loan originators are all being Googled or being binged by the CFPB. And the information that they find often helps them, as well as state examiners, uncover issues in advertising. It also highlights the way a company monitors its advertising practices, which is something that Jonas and I are going to talk about in a little bit. So there's policies and there's processes that a company can put into a compliance management system on marketing, on advertising, and on social media that can help to mitigate some of that risk of being exposed to some of those Googles or Bings that the CFPB and the state examiners are doing. So in this session, I'm going to share with you some of the best marketing tools you can use out there, and then I'm also going to share with you some of the things that you need to be looking to do in your advertising. But one of the things that I recommend that you do is go to Google, and you can do it right now. You guys will probably all hop onto Google and do this. But just put in mortgage advertising in Google. And I tell you what, it's amazing what pops up. A lot of the examples I'm going to go through in the session today were straight off of me just putting mortgage advertising into Google. And you'll see some of the things that are out there that people are doing, and it really is amazing. So today what we're going to talk about in this session, I'm going to share with you what's required for compliant advertising. We're going to talk about some of the various technologies and solutions that can help you to manage your advertising and your marketing, no matter what size of business that you are. And then we're going to determine what solutions may be the best for you and your business to help you to stay compliant in your advertising and your marketing, as well as your social media. So do you know what's being said about you and your loan originators on the Internet? It's important that you know things that are being said that are out there. You should be Googling yourself. You should be Googling your originators. You know, it always sounds funny when you say that, but you want to do that. You want to double check it, triple check it, and you want to check it again. You also want to make sure to work with vendors that you know. Part of the process that you need to have in place as far as your policies and procedures is a regular practice of doing that. So it needs to be written into your policies. This is what we do. And if you're a smaller company, you can just go onto Google and do this. If you're a larger company, there's actually technology solutions out there that will help to manage that. One of my clients I work with has over 900 loan originators, and they actually had 2 full-time staff that were just on Google, and that's all they did, is they just looked for whatever was the loan originators were putting out there. And when they got into a social media management site, they actually found several originators that had websites out there that they weren't aware of. And so by using a service to help kind of manage some of that, it can help you to find out exactly what's being said about you and what your loan originators are saying. And you are responsible for them. I know I was talking to a client about this a couple of weeks ago, and they said, well, you know, it's their license. They're responsible for it. Now, I tell you what, if they're the broker of record, you're responsible for it as well. So it's important you know what's going on. So what I recommend you do is begin with yourself. Type in your name. And it's important not just to type in your name, because like if I just type Ginger Bell into Google, it's pretty interesting, some of the things that come up. Jonas, I know you did this last week when we were in California, and you found some interesting things about yourself you didn't know were out there. But if you want to relate it to you and your business, what was that, Jonas? You had somebody had posted something about the best first kiss or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a high school blog when I was in high school 20 some odd years ago, and it was some girl talking about her first kiss, and I happened to be that guy. So that was right there on like the 3rd page of Google. So go ahead and Google it, guys and girls. Have fun.
So what are the things you want to do? Well, I can tell you we did not have the Internet when I was in high school, so I'm not going to find anything like that out there back then that I know of, so I don't have to worry about that. But type in your company, type in mortgage, type in your state. If you're specializing in a certain product like FHA or VA, you do a lot of advertising for that, you can type in that as well. Because it is interesting what you find. And, you know, Jonas talked about by page 3 is where he found that blog. So you don't want to just look at the first page. So like for me, I do a lot of publication, and so I have a lot of things that will come up. So I usually have to go down a little further to find things. And the reason you want to go down a little bit further is because oftentimes sites like that, like the site that Jonas was talking about where this particular blog was, they're not big in rankings on Google. So sometimes to find the obscure things, you have to go through a few pages. So you want to make sure and do that. Okay, now you guys have all done that, so hop off and get back on to watching the slides. The bottom line is the CFPB is doing this. The CFPB is using website crawlers, they're using spiders, and they're out there searching for possible advertisement violations. A lot of what we're seeing as far as what the CFPB is putting out for as civil investigative demands, which is a letter that they'll send seeking information about a possible violation. They're getting off the things on the internet, as well as obviously consumer complaints, but a lot of the things that they're finding is off of what they're finding on the CFPB, or on the internet by Googling in their spider website crawlers. So let's talk about, do you know what is required for advertisement? And this is one of the biggest requests that we actually get outside of LO Comp in just a generality. Can you look at our advertisement? Can you review our advertisement? Can you tell us what we need to do? Jonas, I know Mark Green, who's the president of your company, had requested that we research for him what the NMLS state requirements are for advertisement. And so it's interesting because we have our federal requirements and then there's also state requirements. And the NMLS is required on everything, but then there's also requirements within certain states on what's required. And for example, some states, if a solicitation is a certain size, so if it's only like so small like postcards, then you don't have to put all the NMLS numbers on it. So each state is a little bit different. So you need to make sure and know what's required within your state. The other thing you need to know is what is considered as advertisement. And again, this is on a federal level and a state level. The bottom line is just about everything is considered advertisement. And I know, Jonas, you and I talked a little bit about this. It's a pretty broad range as far as what's required in advertisement, what you need to adhere to, right?
Right. Very broad. But, I mean, if you have access to, if you're doing all these types of items, I mean, I think we'll show this a little bit later on, is where do you keep it all? You know, being able to access all of these items. So we'll show that a little bit later on, but keep going. I think you're on a, you're rolling.
And part of it is that management, as far as managing everything. But, you know, no matter what you're doing, it's basically, if there's a call to action, a solicitation, it's considered an advertisement. And it's that first point of contact. So it can also include your business card. So you need to make sure that that's on there. It needs to be in your emails. You need to have it at any point that you're having contact with the customer. You need to have those numbers in there. The overall importance is to make sure that you're having your NMLS numbers on there, the unique identifier number, you have your company number, you also have your individual loan originator number, and you want to check with any state requirements that you have as well. If you have a website, you need to obviously have your company number on there. It needs to be in a position that the consumers can easily see it. So it shouldn't be buried deep within your website. It should be right there on the footer so it's easily identifiable. And then a link to the NMLS Consumer Access site. If you have your loan originators that are also on the website, then you need to have their unique identifier numbers on there as well. If you don't have them on there, then you only need your company number. So again, it's important to understand the difference. Looking at your state, you need to follow whatever the state's doing, and I use the California BRE as an example. We do a lot of business in California. I know, Jonas, you do a lot of business in California also. So if you're under the license of the California BRE, then you need to look to what the requirements are for that as well, because you actually have two numbers there. You have your NMLS number and you have your California BRE number. California has kind of a unique situation having a dual license under the California BRE. So it's a real estate license and also a real estate broker license, or NMLS license. So you need to make sure to pay attention to what's being required in your state. So the CFPB rule applies to any commercial communication, regardless of whether it's oral, written, or visual. Basically, if it's intended to be perceived by a consumer, then it's covered by the rule. Because the rule itself is very broad, individual mortgage loan originators and mortgage companies basically must consider all media that they may have posed to be covered under this. So your email footers, your fine print on your web pages, post to bulletin boards, post to Facebook pages. If you're doing any kind of writing on your Facebook page, it talks about, hey, just post another loan, then you need to have your NMLS unique identifier number on there. So you need to make sure that you're compliant and everything, and that includes your LinkedIn and your Twitter, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the CFPB rule covers all communication involving all credit secured by a dwelling. And the definition of credit is the same as the general TILA definition. So it includes your lease options, retail installment, sales agreement, and also land contracts. Basically, dwelling is anything that's intended to be lived in. This is regardless of how long the consumer intends to live there. So this is not just owner-occupied. This is everything. The rule prohibits any material misrepresentation, and that can be expressly or by implication. And this is in any commercial communication regarding any term of any mortgage credit product. And so the question is, how do you know what's to be considered as material to a consumer that you've never met before? There really is no reasonable standard in the rule. And if you read through the law, the preamble actually asks how a reasonable person in the audience would view the advertisement. So they're really looking for that common denominator of what's considered reasonable. The rule states that the following must be considered regarding reasonableness. Number one, the sophistication and understanding of the consumers that are in the group that you are marketing to. And this may be a general audience, or it may be a specific group. So maybe you're just advertising for reverse mortgage. Then you still need to make sure that you are advertising in a means that's understandable to them. I always like to use the grandmother test. So if it's something that your grandmother could understand, then it's probably considered reasonable. So you really need to look at that in terms of the sophistication of the advertisement that you're doing. The rule also states that in many circumstances, reasonable consumers do not read the entirety of an ad or are directed away from the importance of maybe the qualifying phrases or the statements. And so what they're talking about is basically the fine print or the bottom of a print advertisement or maybe a brief video. And so what they want to make sure is that everything is understandable. So they want to make sure that there's no false headlines. So if there's just a glance at a headline, then it's not going to be considered as one way. And it's kind of that bait and switch kind of thing. So that's really what they're looking for. They want to make sure that things are not deceptive in an ad. So what they're looking at for things that are prohibited in advertisement, this is a list. So they're looking at anything that's misleading in regards to fixed rates or payments, anything that's misleading in a comparison in advertisement, any misrepresentation about being endorsed by the government, anything that's misleading in use of the current lender's name, any misleading claims of a debt elimination, any misleading use of the term counselor, and any misleading foreign language advertisement. So let's look at a couple of examples. In this ad, and again, these are ads I just pulled off of just putting mortgage advertisement into Google. And so, you know, today we look at our product, there's a lot more arms that we're using now. Our products can be more complex. There's a combination of fixed, variable rate, you know, things like that, and just a lower rate. And so what the CFPB is looking for and what the our regulations require, that if you're using the word fixed in an advertisement in these types of loans, you need to make sure that the small print, and you can see in here it says 3.99 APR, it's 30-year, but the smaller print is the 30-year variable rate mortgage, and then the rate is fixed for the first 5 years, variable after. So, you know, could this be considered misleading? Perhaps, because the 3.99 is so much larger. So you want to make sure that it's very clear on there what the advertisement is, and make it to where that they can understand that, you know, it's a 30-year fixed. It's not fixed for the entire time. So these are the kind of things that they're looking for. Any kind of a misleading comparison, so comparisons between an advertised mortgage and a hypothetical loan that the consumer may have is prohibited unless the ad includes, as far as that they may not apply for that. So, you look at this, and basically they're saying, okay, you can get this loan for $510,000 for under $1,698 a month. Well, you don't know that they can get that. Actually, I did this session in Sacramento, and they said, well, that's because it's in Alabama. So I don't know. Maybe if anyone from Alabama. But you have to be careful of that, as implying that everybody's going to get this. And so this could be considered, again, a misleading advertisement. Any misleading endorsement or any kind of an implication that you're part of the government. So in this example, it says clearly, FHA lenders ask for a government loan advisor. This is clearly misrepresentation. This is something, if you are doing, you shouldn't be doing. And I can tell you how you can kind of get around that. This is, again, one. So this is a website. They specialize in VA loans. And a lot of people specialize in particular loan products. You need to do that. That's great. I think it's fabulous, especially for VA. VA is a product that I think is underutilized. But it's very clear, and they put it right at the top of the page. We are not the government or affiliated with FHA or VA. So it's very clear there. We do VA loans, but we're not the government, and that's what they want to see in your advertisement. Now, you've probably received these in the mail, where you get a letter, and it looks like it may be coming from your servicer who you're sending your payment to. And what companies do is they actually will take the name of the company that you're with, so that they can access this information, it's public information, and they change the name just a little bit that it looks like. So maybe you're with ABC Mortgage, and they put ABC Now Mortgage. And so it looks like it's coming from your lender, but it really isn't. Why is that deceptive? Because you may want to refinance. It's like, oh, I can refinance my loan, and it'll give you that, no problem. You can send it in, but it's not really going to the same company that has your loan. So again, they consider this to be misleading. Something else we talked about, misleading claim of debt reduction, get out of debt on a low income. You know what? It's not debt elimination, especially if you're doing a refinance. So they would, again, consider this as something to be very misleading. And then finally, if you're doing advertising in other languages, that's great. I can tell you there's a growing market in terms of the Hispanic market. I was at the Radian home office a couple months ago, and they have some very interesting statistics on first-time home buyer segment. It's going to be very high over the next 5 years in the Hispanic community. And so they're actually putting a lot of resources into developing Hispanic tools for mortgage insurance, to be able to have it in bilingual, to have it in Spanish as well. And so if you're advertising in Spanish, that's great. You just want to make sure that the entire ad is in Spanish. So you don't want to mix, certain words as far as advertising in Spanish, but then the terms are written in English. So whatever advertisement you're doing, you need to make sure that it's all in one advertisement or in one language for everything, or in both languages for everything. So you just want to make sure you're covered there. You also want to make sure the annual percentage rate is there. It's a critical factor, obviously, in comparing mortgage offers. And it's required in all the advertisements if you're quoting any kind of rate. So you need to make sure that you're putting your APR in there. So the FTC is another organization that we have to abide to as far as what they have requirements for online advertisements. And under the FTC, they also prohibit anything that they consider unfair or deceptive acts or practices. And that includes any advertising campaigns, marketing, personal materials. They do have authority over non-banks, and that includes most mortgage brokers, bankers, and lenders. So when it comes to advertising online, the principle applies that the advertisement must be truthful and not misleading. The advertiser must have evidence to back up their claims, and they cannot be unfair. So the same thing that we're looking at on all of our requirements under MAP, under TILA, under ECOA. The FTC has actually issued an online advertising guide. The link is listed here, and I know Eric's going to send this out to everyone. You'll have access to that later on. Or you can go to Google and put in FTC online advertisement and On their consumer website, FTC does a very good job of explaining to consumers what to look for in regards to deceptive advertisements. And so again, this is something you can go to, and if you want to really get a good idea as far as what you should be doing, this is a great place to go because the FTC is telling consumers what the ad's saying. So again, just another example to look at. Another organization we need to pay attention to is the Federal Financial Institution Examination Council, and they actually published last year an entire updated guidance on social media. And again, this link is here, so you can go and check on that to find out what they're looking for as far as advertisement in social media. But the agencies, all of them, consider social media to be a form of basically anything that's an interactive online communication. They're looking at users be able to share content. It could be through texting, it could be through audio, it could be through video. And social media can take any type of form. So oftentimes we think of just Facebook or Twitter, but there's Google+, there's LinkedIn, there's Yelp, there's YouTube. Basically, these sites that enable professional networking or any kind of virtual worlds or even social gaming can be considered as part of social media and something you need to make sure that you're watching what your loan originators are doing on them. And again, there's a list of these here that you can take a look at as far as the forms. And again, you need to have your policies and procedures in place. So if it's something you say, you know what, I'm not going to let my loan originators do anything on these sites, that's fine. Make sure it's in your policies. Make sure you communicate it with them. You have it in your advertising manual that this is what you can do, and you have to use a system. Jonas is a great system with Top of Mind. He'll talk about a little bit later that I love. Or if you're going to let them use these types of social media, then you need to be very clear in what they can and cannot do. You need to be very clear in the requirements. They have to have their NMLS ID number on there. That if they're quoting rate, they have to have APR. All of those things need to be placed in place as far as your policy and procedures, and you need to make sure and communicate that out to them. And I would really recommend having them sign them. So putting it into an advertising guide or just part of your policy and procedures. Make sure you're sharing it with them and making sure that they're reading it and attesting to following it. Your social media is probably one of your biggest areas of risk right now just because most companies are not managing it. And it's one that we are really looking into finding some good solutions that are very scalable so that you can easily manage it. It's not something that's very difficult for you to have a handle on. Some of the things you need to be aware of as far as your social media is evaluating what your company is doing regarding your policies and procedures. Watch what your originators are doing. Maybe use a watchdog system or something like that. Make sure your originators are using the NMLS ID numbers, watching for trigger terms, and be aware of company branding versus LO branding, because sometimes the loan originators want to brand it themselves. That's fine, but you need to make sure that you have your information on there to protect you as a company too. So even though they're going to brand themselves, you still need to have your company on there. So maybe they go out and build their own website, mortgageninja.com. Well, they're still underneath your license. So if they want to do that, first of all, you need to know about it. You need to have your policies in place on what they can and cannot do. They need to get it approved by you, and you need to make sure your company information, your NMLS ID number is on there. So I put together what I consider the CFPB and the FTC naughty list. And basically, it's everything that's listed here. We've talked about a lot of these things: inaccurate information about interest rates, misleading statements, advertising offering low fixed rate mortgages when really it's not a fixed rate, it's an ARM, advertising containing any statements, images, symbols that may consider the advertiser as affiliated with a government agency, or any kind of guaranteeing approval that they're going to get approved. Those are things that they're looking for. So under compliance rules and laws, it's just a matter of, best rule of thumb, be consistent, be kind, be inclusive, and be transparent. There are several regulations that we have to abide by within our industry. We have UDAAP, we have NAPS, we have ECOA, we have TILA, we have RESPA. And so it's important that you know how they all work together. And it's also important that you train your staff on all of these particular compliance areas as well. And I see a couple questions coming in, so I want to see. I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of these right now. Oh, Eric, maybe you want to go to the Q&A. So I see you're answering some of those. So guys, it looks like you're typing some questions in, I'm seeing here about RESPA and whatnot. So we'll wait for the Q&A and get to those. So let's talk about social media. And again, this is an area that's really big. So you want to make sure that you do have a social media plan in place. You need to have a risk management program. The FFIEC requires that you have that. You need to have it that can help you to identify, measure, monitor, and control the risks that are related to social media. So you want to have guidance and training for your employees. You want to have procedures for responding to negative comments. And so again, these are all new things to think about in terms of managing your risk as a business owner. And really it's a matter of making sure that everyone is involved in the process. In your risk management programs, what does it look like? You want to make sure that you have something in place to identify your risk, to perform your quality risk analysis, perform the plan for risk responses, so if there is something that comes up in a negative comment, what you're saying, to put in place monitors and controls, and to have a plan as far as risk management for your social media. And this is what they really expect for you to have it in place. Establish your best practices. I've talked about this before. This is a big area. This is one of the biggest areas. And I've been focusing on for the past 6 months. We've been developing programs in place for mortgage brokers, for mini correspondents, for correspondents, for credit unions, community banks, to make a scalable solution for helping you to establish some of those policies and procedures, because it's not just a matter of the CFPB. The states are looking for these now. It's just in Hawaii last month, and the Hawaii state examiners are now not just looking at your files, but they're going in and they're looking at what are your policies and procedures, what are you doing for training your staff. So it's all important that you have all these best practices in place. So let's talk about some of the compliant marketing technology solutions that are out there. And this is an area for me that's really important, because you need to go out there and grow your business. And in my background, I have both. I've been involved in sales. I've also been involved in training. I used to be an account executive with a sales manager for wholesale lenders. So I know how important it is for you to go out there and build your business. So you also need to make sure and protect yourself. So I have my top 5 things that I look for in a technology solution to make sure it meets a compliance standard. We often vet out technology companies as our company with strategic compliance partners, and we're actually, one of our partners is Optic Herman Law Firm. So we use a lot of our attorneys to be able to vet out companies and make sure that they're doing everything so there's not RESPA violations, which I'm seeing a lot of questions in as far as RESPA violations. Obviously, one of our oldest concerns that we've had, there's a lot of other concerns we need to look at, but there's technology solutions out there to help you manage that. So the first thing for me is it should be able to provide secure tracking capability. Why is that important? That's important because CFPB wants to see what you're doing. States are wanting to see what you're doing. The CFPB actually joined the CSBS, which is the Conference of State Bank Supervisors, last year. And they're the organization that actually oversees all the state regulators. And so what we're seeing in a lot of the states now is they're adopting a lot of the practices from the CFPB. Why? Because the CFPB is having an influence over that. I have been in some states where Connecticut, for example, that they have said we're going to do it exactly like the CFPB. From Connecticut to Hawaii, we're starting to see this. So you need to make sure that you have secure tracking capability so you can track what's happening out there, especially for your marketing, for your social media. You have an idea what's going on. The second thing is look for version controlling. So what version control is it maintains the version of your marketing over time. And so if you have a flyer and you put in your flyer, a certain APR. And then you go in, 2 days later and you change it. You want to be able to have that flyer that you did today retained and saved as it was, and then also have the next flyer to build off of. So you don't want to have a system where it rewrites over that. If you have a Word document, you can save it and it just updates it. You don't want to use that in a technology solution for your marketing, and you don't want to use that in any of your marketing. So if you're doing marketing on your own and you're not using a technology solution, if you are creating new flyers in Word, you want to save them as version 1 and put the date, and you want to always keep copies of those, because you always want to make sure to have those available if you should have to produce those for the CFPB or for a state or for something in the court of law. So you want to make sure and protect yourself. That's what really it's about. The third thing is record retention. So you want to be able to retain records in terms of what's going on. So again, you want to be able to produce that if you're asked for that. You want to have the benefit of scalability of growth. So whether you're growing up or you're going down, you can have a solution that's going to be something that's affordable on both sides of them. And then integration into other systems is a plus, especially if they can integrate to your LOS. I was actually doing a demo yesterday with a new product that we're going to be introducing for a company that just put out a non-QM verifier. And it can help as far as for companies that are going to be doing non-QM loans to provide for some recourse in the case of a foreclosable defense. And so one of the first questions I asked them is on my top 5. It's like, okay, can it integrate into other systems? And this one can't, so we give a thumbs up for it. So with that, and one of the companies that I absolutely love is Top of Mind. And I've known Mark Green and Jonas for many, many years, and I love what they're doing, because what they're doing is really everything that I talked about in my top 5 list. And it's into the cloud, it's something that's scalable, it's all the things that you're looking for. So Jonas, I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes and kind of let you talk about some of the things that I talked about. And, obviously not just commercials for you guys and what you do for Top of Mind, but really what to look for in a system as well is important. So Jonas, if you don't mind, I'm going to let you, and I'll turn the screens for you, so just let me know when you want to turn the page. I'll give you Vanna.
I'll say next, and you can go. Okay, so let's stay here just for a moment. Great. Thank you, Ginger. I'm going to be real brief. I know there's a lot of questions that are coming in, and Eric wants to definitely get to that Q&A. So, one of the main things that I see every day in my position is, and I hear, and from those that are wanting a system to basically do everything, we're trying to be that, of course, but look at this slide here. You've got your loan officers that are trying to do things on their phones, on their iPads, their iMinis, your laptops. You've got databases that are not only in spreadsheets, maybe they're in shoe boxes somewhere, so they're all over the place. So it's first putting everything in one place, one area to access, especially for having all that control. So go ahead and go to the next slide. I mean, knowing that you have a system that's going to do everything underneath one umbrella, that's key. So I love this slide. It's in my presentations, but it really pans out across all systems out there. What you want to see from a system that's going to follow up and do all your marketing is effective, compliant communication within all facets, from the start of a transaction all the way through the end, as well as beyond. Now, not only for your client experience, you want to have that two-prong approach where you're enhancing the client experience, but you're also doing effective communication to your referral partners. So you're building business in your client area, and you're also building your business in the referral partner area. So finding a system that works from start to finish and beyond is key. Here's one of my main things, and I'm going to just talk about one of my clients in the Midwest that has over 500 loan officers. 90% of the applications that come in through our 1003, the one that we supply them with. And let me ask you guys a question. And you guys, of course, don't have to answer in the Q&A. Just go ahead and answer it on your own. Do you use a 1003, an online 1003? And if you do, the amount of clients that actually get in there, and I know from being a loan officer before, my clients would get into the loan application, they'd sign in, There's 7 steps to completion, but they may not complete it that day. It's 10 o'clock at night. They're 20 minutes in. Something distracts them. They got to go. They come back later. But you know what? They probably, and most of them, have filled out the top 6 items that you need to create an application and disclose, right? So you got the top 6, or I think it's now 7 items. So what if you had control of taking one of those 6 or one of those 7 items out of the 1003, so you wouldn't be out of compliance if they actually provide it and don't complete the application? Does that make any sense? I hope it does. So having an online 1003 that's accessible and can be customizable is huge. Go ahead and go to the next one. Tracking, and I don't have that slide that you have up. I would love to do it side by side sometime, Ginger. I want to have those top 5 items so we can have a little check mark after each one. That is the best top 5 list I have seen. So I'm just giving you one example of how we track, or how a system should track, the items that are going out to your borrowers, your referral partners. So here you see a person's profile. Kind of look down at the bottom, the half where it says email sent. The subject lines, the emails that are opened, and then if you go all the way to the right, you see view email. If you click on that button within our system or in any other system, you should be able to see that exact email that went out to that client. Now, this is just email. What about flyers? What about mail pieces? Okay, email blasts that go out to multiple people. All of that should be trackable, and you should have control over it. Please go to next. You're doing great, by the way. So here's one of my favorite things. For an admin or, say, a branch manager that's overviewing multiple loan officers, is having the control and the ability to approve or deny certain pieces of marketing. So you talked about version control, Ginger, which I think is huge to have the original piece. So say you've got templates of emails or flyers or mail pieces, and then that person, that LO or somebody else or assistant, wants to alter that, changing I to we, if they're a team, let's say. Being able to have and track both versions or multiple versions is huge, and being able to approve or deny them so that they are deployed out to those folks is another big plus. So having that centralization.
That's what I love too, Jonas, because it gives that control as far as who can and cannot approve it. So as a company, you're maintaining that control, which is important.
Yes. Well, and here's the licensing information. Again, having control over where it goes, if it's in print, in email, on flyers. Now, you had mentioned early on in the presentation that on certain pieces you may or may not need certain pieces of information. I know in the state of Washington it is really difficult. You have to have a specific, a piece of information with the LO to the company, and I know some of our clients have 2-point font to be able to have all the items that they need on their pieces of collateral. Going out, so having that. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's like you have to get a magnifying glass out to actually view this stuff, but it's required by state and federal. So having access to that and having the ability to be able to change it depending on the piece that goes out is another crucial item. So let's go to the next one. And I think this is, I don't know if I have a favorite because this seem to keep coming. This is another one of the, again, having that control of being able to turn on or turn off certain elements of your system to individuals. So we call that roles and permissions. So in essence, let's just say this, and this is a big example because I've seen this happen. What if a loan officer decides today that he or she wants to be vice president for just a few moments and send out an email blast? What does that mean? He or she may be able to go in and change their signature block. Yeah, I'm the VP and I'm going to send out an email blast. That's a big no-no. So, hey, you might be able to give them full autonomy to create that email blast, but it won't be deployed if you have the proper controls, meaning you can approve or deny that information going out. I hope that makes sense. So having access to a system that allows you to monitor all of your facets of the system, once again, is key. So that's it. I have a lot more to share, of course, elsewhere, but I think for time purposes and Q&A, let's move on to that. And I know there's my information. Let's go to the next 2 slides really quick, just to kind of finalize the thought. CRM management. Here's the one big one. I think this was number 5 on her list. Fully integrating with an LOS system is another crucial element. Do you have that capability? Encompass, Point, and of course there's so many others out there. Marketing. We have over 156 flyers that are pre-built that are all, from what I understand, compliant. However, if you want to change those pictures, you feel they're not what you want, You want to change some of the content. That is something you have to have the ability to do. Having control is the big one. Let's go on to the next one. And I think we'll finish here. Again, control is the big one. Deciding who can create, edit, or publish. You might want to give complete autonomy to everyone, but actually sending it and getting it out to folks, you might want to have a little more overseeing on that, a little big brother. Providing complete lockdown for marketing. Yeah, I like that. I like the ability to say, nope, we're going to shut this system down, or we're going to open it up. Having that control is good, and being fully auditable for your peace of mind. Being able to, if someone comes into your office, OCC, CFPB, whatever acronym decides to show up, are you able to go into your system and pull out the information that they need? And I find that actually I think we're up to 5 clients now that have gone through an audit. And I have to say all of them have passed. So thank you very much for having me, guys. And I'm gonna go ahead and stay on, but I'll be in the background. Thanks.
Yeah, hang out for questions, Jonas. So
yeah.
One of the things I talked about was your online media, and one of the things I've been looking for, because I get asked all the time, it's like, okay, you talk about compliance syndrome. What can we find to help? Jonas is a good one. There's other companies out there. I just happen to absolutely love and adore them. And I love their system, and they've been doing things like this right long before it was required for them to be doing it. So they just did it because that's what they knew companies needed to do. So another company we're looking at right now, I can't give you the name yet. I actually have a call with them tomorrow, but it's an online media watchdog. And so if you're interested, shoot me an email. I can send you some information. As soon as we get them all approved and everything, we put them through a vetting process as well, just like with Mark's company or with Jonas's company. But they do social media management, so that'll be coming soon. I can send out alerts if you're interested. Just shoot me an email, and then I'm quickly going to go through this. Renee Rodriguez, another great industry partner, created.
Hey, Ginger, let me narrate for just a second. Actually, Renee Rodriguez is going to be speaking on our webinar series next Tuesday. So
okay.
we'll
Let me
get
through
here for 10 seconds. But right. Long story short, those of you who know Renee and have heard him speak, he's a fabulous presenter and just is a real expert at how to create reputation and influence, as well as some of the psychology of selling elements of things. And Renee is going to be sharing a special program about a new product he's launching called BetterLoanOfficers.com. Make sure you check out the webpage and sign up for or watch the email analysis for next week's webinar with Renee Rodriguez, talking about the importance of trust and online reputation management through the system that he has to launch, and we'll be sharing more about that next week.
Awesome. Good segue. So let me power through the rest of this. First of all, you need to make sure you know what loan originators are saying about you. Keep your records. And so, just like we were talking about with Jonas, you keep it for a minimum of 2 years, but you also may have state record requirements. It includes your email footers, anything that comes in an advertisement, copies of your website, each version of your website, your social media, all print advertisement. It's important to just use a system. And the best way to mitigate your risk is to establish your policies and procedures. If you need help with that, we can do something like that for you. At Strategic Compliance Partners, we've actually created a system that can give you automated policies, online education platform, checklists, things like that. So it basically gives you a tool to be able to outsource your compliance policies and procedures. It can give you peace of mind knowing your policies and your trainings are up to date, they're vetted, they're complete. We have a compliance team, they're backed by attorneys, and so you can get your guidance from a team of seasoned compliance professionals as well as attorneys. My contact information here. We've created a couple of things that I'm really excited about, and I apologize, it looks like the screen didn't pull out correctly on this. But I will put my email address into the chat box, and I'll make sure that that's available when Eric sends this out as well. But a couple of things, Eric, I want to share that I'm really excited about that we're launching. We've been in a beta test mode for the past 6 months, and we're launching it live online by next week. And it's called C3 Real Time. And so it's for mortgage brokers, community correspondents, community banks, credit unions. Basically what we give you is a personalized policy guide on your federal policy as well as your state. and we keep it updated in real time. And what real time means, and this actually came about from this roundtable discussion we did in Massachusetts a couple months ago. Had a bunch of originators, brokers, credit unions together, had either been through an audit, state exam, or were going through one right now. And they were sharing information. They're sharing, oh, this is what we found. Oh, they asked for this. Da, 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 da. I was like, you know what? Nobody's communicating with each other on our side. The CFPB is communicating with the states are communicating with the CFPB is communicating with the DOJ. They're all communicating. Who the heck's communicating on our side? So we said, you know what, let's start it. So we're starting a communication channel. And basically, if you're a member of our team, of our system, then you can send in, if you're going through the state exam, hey, this is what we're getting, or this is what they're asking for. Is this right? Our attorneys will look through it, say, yes, this is right. No, this is not right. This is how you need to respond. And we keep our policies updated in real time and forms and things like that based on what everybody's seeing on the tape. So like we have a lot of clients in Hawaii right now because they're going through exams. So we're communicating all of that. Our attorneys look at it, say, yes, this is right. So we keep our policies and the communication in real time so you always know what's going on. And that's really what needs to happen right now because they're all communicating. We need to start communicating. So that's one of the things we're starting. CFPB real time. We'll have it up on our website, Strategic Compliance Partners, and it includes all your policies and then also training for your staff. So we've taken 20 compliance courses that we've identified that the CFPB wants you to have within your compliance management system. We put it into an online training center. You get an admin panel. You can push it out to all of your originators, your processors, underwriters, whoever. So I'm really excited about it, and it's the first of its kind to be able to keep this together in real time. So with that, we're going to send you the slides. I want to thank you for being on, and I want to make sure that we get to questions. So, Eric, what I'm going to do is actually take a look at some of the questions that we're having right now. And I think I saw some questions on there about RESPA. So let me take a look at that.
Right, and Ginger, I'll just go ahead and repeat the question for the benefit of the audience as well. There were actually two different questions, and this had to do with kind of special promotion events, whether it's like a client appreciation event or I could see, you know, the question that was asked from Barbara Turner is, what guidance is available for contests, drawings, et cetera, and kind of separated the question for clients as well as the question for agents. Like, let me give you a case study example. Not too long ago, and many years or many times over the last 10 years or so that we've been working with coaching clients, we find a client who has lost a database. You know, they have a list of names and addresses maybe, and that's it, but they don't have email addresses, or they have left a company and the company required that they leave their old database at the old company. Maybe a non-compete 2 years later has expired, but they want to reach out to those past clients and get those clients or encourage those clients to update their contact information, for example. How could you send a compliant advertisement or encourage those clients to respond, to participate? And, you know, a lot of times what will happen is they'll raffle off something like a $100 gas card or prepaid Visa card that could be used for whatever as an incentive to encourage people to respond and fill out kind of a update your information survey. What rules or issues do you know, where would the fine line be with crossing the line with a RESPA issue?
Well, RESPA gets into an issue in the area of kickback. And so a kickback is something that you pay, whether it's written or implied, a thing of value for somebody referring a client to you. So if you're doing a contest, it has to be a broad contest. So it cannot be just to, you know, send me somebody and I'll give you this. So if you're going to do a contest, that's fine. That's not a RESPA violation. In terms of having that point of contact, it's not considered a new solicitation if you've already established that relationship with them. And I believe, just from the top of my head, it's a period of 2 years, but I'd have to look just to make sure on that. So on both accounts, you would be okay. When it gets into an area that you need to be concerned about and giving something away, it's like I had somebody that they had a friend who worked at a hospital, and they said, well, you can put an ad up in the hospital, but you have to give them something special. And I think it was up at the VA. So, can you give us a appraisal, or can you do something like that? That's when you get on a very slippery slope. Because if you're giving something to one person over another, then you get into another area where that could be considered something of special treatment. So then you could get into an area of an FHA or a fair lending violation or something like that. So those are the kind of things you have to look at in terms of getting things away.
Right. So in that situation, you'd be potentially pushing into an area of where you'd be disparate treatment would be the considered offense.
Exactly.
And in that case, then you'd be in potential violation with particular trade groups or protected classes, incentivizing one group over another. So, like, for example, if you guys, one of the classic examples of another comparison of this question that I happen to be fairly familiar with is Wells Fargo Home Mortgage for years and years, and this goes all the way back to my days as a retail branch manager with Wells. We did I don't remember even exactly what the name of the contest was called, but it was basically a football raffle drawing, kind of pick the winners. And the winners each week of, we'd market it to 30 or 40 of our business partners, realtors. They would turn in their, picks for the games that week. And the cards that were, the top winners who got the most games right out of the 20 or 30 games that are played every Sunday would win some small prizes. And it was just a fun thing that we do every week through the football season, professional football season. The reason that would be compliant is, again, one, it's a broad contest like Ginger shared. It's not soliciting. It's not a one-to-one exchange. It's not a, you send me a loan, I will send you a $100 prize kind of concept. It's a very broad contest. The other element of that is, and this kind of goes into the next question that was asked here, Ginger, which was, okay, so how do companies get away with like specific donations to a particular charitable group for the referral of a loan? Like for example, I've seen this done with specific church groups, for example. We'll offer, a $300 discount to all of your church members if you use us for your loans. We'll also make a donation to the church in the name of the borrower of, say, $200 donation for every loan we close. How does that, how does that work?
It's a slippery slope there. So that's a very slippery slope there, because that could be implied as a referral. So there's a difference. Barbara had actually asked about a couple things that I'm reading through this. So to your point, Eric, if you are, again, if you're advertising and it's in a church group and you're saying, we'll make a donation if you'll use us, yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're doing that, I wouldn't do it, because that could be considered a kickback. That's not really a quote-unquote donation. That's an implied, I'm going to pay you if you use me. I'm going to pay the church if you use. So that's a very slippery slope there. There's a general terms as far as offering a donation to a charity for closed loans. You're not inferring that it's going to be for a referral. You're just going to say, hey, in October, for every closed loan we do as a company, we're going to donate, so much money to Make-A-Wish, or to, Susan E. Komen, or whatever it is. So, again, anytime you do something like this, it needs to be in a very broad term. So you need to watch yourself as far as having a disparate impact, disparate treatment, or having a kickback violation. So those are the main things you need to look for in doing any kind of a giving. But you can make donations. You just need to make sure that it's on everything. And it's not, the number one thing, it is not tied to a referral. It's not you send me business, I send you something. Whether it's a cup of coffee, whether it's donating to the church, whether it's donating to your donation, it cannot be an implication for you sending me something, I give something to you.
Right. Okay. So understanding, if I'm reading with the fine print and what you just said, maybe to clarify in my mind, one, it needs to be broad enough in scope that it is not it does not appear to be a direct solicitation of one specific loan with one specific dollar amount donation. Secondly is that it needs to be offered to all possible groups in the community, and be careful, because then you might be, not necessarily you might be RESPA compliant, but you might be crossing by anti-discrimination laws if you were to be selective about, well, I'll offer it to churches, but I won't offer it to synagogues or something like that. That would be discriminating on dates. Exactly. And so that's part of the fine print in there is, if you're going to offer a charitable program, like a sharing is caring kind of program, then you need to offer it to all available groups that want to participate and to be able to, open the access so that you're not potentially in violation of anti-discrimination laws in respect.
Right.
All right. Moving on to
and religion is a protected class. There's some other questions I'm seeing. I want to see the $5 Starbucks one because Betty's asking about that. Is it a violation? Anything you give for referral is a violation. It doesn't matter how much it is.
The key I've heard in that and correct me if I'm wrong, Ginger, because you're much more of an expert in this than I am, I can give a gift card as a thank you to a client who has closed a loan for me. I cannot give a gift card to a person who has referred a closed loan to me.
Exactly.
Get the difference there?
Yep.
Right. I can do it as an acknowledgement or a gift of gratitude for, for doing business with me, but I can't. And that might also, by the way, cross into that charitable donation thing. The charitable donation is available. If I offer a borrower, for example, an incentive of by the way, you do your loan with me, I will give you a $200, donation to a charity of your choice, and as a gratitude for doing your loan with me. Again, still a little bit of a slippery slope there, but those are one of the areas that we've got to be a little bit careful about. All right, the next group of questions that kind of all surrounded the idea of a CRM system and what are the key things. And to help clarify, Ginger, if you could just kind of revisit or hit the top 5 things that a compliant and effective content management system well, I'll let you guys decide between the two of you who's best. Jonas, actually, maybe you want to take that one. What are the top 5 things that people need to look for when trying to identify a compliant marketing system?
I think Ginger has it. Has it in the list of her 5 items of version control, tracking. I mean, that's my top 5.
Yep, so tracking, version control, record retention, scalability, growth, and then integration into other systems are the top 5.
Right. The most important of those that I see are, one is the content compliant and meet all the requirements of TILA and RESPA and advertising, as well as anti-discrimination rules. Secondly is the record retention. I mean, that's absolutely critical, guys. And the one thing that I took out of today's program that I hadn't really thought about before, especially in what we do here at Maximum Acceleration as a professional development, marketing, and coaching company, is that how many times do we create 15 different versions of the same flyer to be used in different formats and on different platforms, and do we retain all those different multiple versions? Because if we don't, then we could be in violation of a whole bunch of rules when it comes to audit time, that we're out of compliance because we haven't retained records on everything we've sent. And that's one of the greatest assets of using a controlled marketing system. I mean, guys, it's way beyond just being compliant with canned spam and not getting a fine for broadcast messaging that violates the rules of that basic law, which is something we've been dealing with since the early 2000s in this industry. Now it goes so much deeper than that with the importance of retaining all these records, and the CFPB is out there, as a dominant force in the market, doing everything they can to clean up the messes of the early 2000s with the deceptive advertising and all that kind of thing. All right, any other questions, guys? I'm going to go through just a couple of quick overview here of a couple of things coming up that I wanted you all to be aware of as we move forward with some of the programming that we offer. As many of you have probably been thinking about or asking about, if this is your first time on one of these Maximum Performance webinar series, what it really comes down to is, what do we do here at Maximum Acceleration? You've gotten a little bit of a glimpse of what Ginger and her company do. You've gotten a glimpse of what Jonas and what his company provides from a marketing and support, and I'm so much appreciative that they've taken the time to share that information with our group. Let me share just really quickly what do we do here at Maximum Acceleration. Well, first of all, we are a coaching and training company that is dedicated to helping you achieve your goals in maximum time frame. In other words, we want to help you reach the highest volume of growth in the shortest period of time possible. Our only goal is helping you reach your goal. There are a couple of hallmarks or foundational elements to what we do. Everything we do involves multiple interactions, access to a tremendous library of information, now totaling over 250 gigabytes of information that we share with our clients and give access to them in a very prescriptive process. We do offer home study program, in other words, kind of do-it-yourself, self-guided training platforms. We offer group and on-site programming for business development, sales, marketing, and operational efficiency training, and we offer one-on-one personal coaching. If you'd like more information about any of the Maximum Acceleration programs and how to get access to any of those 3 levels, probably your best bet is to go ahead and take advantage of what we call a strategy session. There's no cost or obligation for those strategy sessions. It's just simply what we've found to be the best way to help our clients understand the value of potential coaching is by actually experiencing it. Through the course of that discussion, we'll talk a little bit about what options are available to you, what that, which of those 3 levels of programming are available to you and your team, and from there, pick a course of action if and when it makes sense to move forward with some type of coaching. I also want to introduce you to an opportunity to get some more great training, even expanded on this format. We've got a couple of events coming up in early July I want you to be aware of. Both are going to be down in New Orleans, and UltimateMortgageExpo.com is the first one. And then, Ginger, if you wouldn't mind, do me a favor and post in the Q&A or in the chat the link to the website. I don't have a slide up for it, but the Mortgage Star Conference, which is a mortgage women leaders conference that will be Thursday and Friday. The Ultimate Mortgage Expo is going to be at the Hotel Monteleone, July 7th through the 9th in New Orleans. You can, of course, attend for free, and that discount is good. Actually, they've extended it just a couple of days. That discount should be good. Still, Max UME will get you access to that for free. Come on down to the Ultimate Mortgage Expo, get some great training. Ginger is going to be presenting there. Jonas, to be honest, I don't remember if you're going to be part of that event or not. If not, you can see the Maximum Acceleration team down there, and I'll be happy to get you information or talk to you a little bit more about CRM systems, which ones make sense for you and your organization, the variety of options out there. We've vetted a number of different companies. Top of mind is certainly one of the ones that we highly recommend, along with a couple of others. Ultimately, you've got to look at what's going to be the right fit for your organization, what's scalable, and what's accessible to you based on where you are in your growth curve with using advanced marketing systems and those kind of things as well. Anyway, the Ultimate Mortgage Expo is one opportunity. You can go to ultimatemortgageexpo.com. The sister program to that is going to be the Mortgage Star Conference. You go to mortgage-star.net. That is going to be a 2-day intensive conference that is actually going to be emceed by our famous guest presenter today. Ms. Ginger Bell is going to be the Master of Ceremonies for that event, the Mortgage Star Conference. Of course, you can find out more information about that on our website, mxlcoach.com, or go to the mortgage-star.net website and find out more information. By the way, you can get a significant discount. Maximum Acceleration has bought an exclusive block of tickets for that Mortgage Star Conference. We are so passionate about the quality of programming that you're going to be able to experience. If you use the discount code in all capital letters, MAX Special, all run together, MAXSPECIAL, discount code, you can actually save over $400 on the Mortgage Star Conference. If you're interested, it'll make it, you can attend for only $295 if you do that. Otherwise, last thing I want you to do is you've all invested just a hair over an hour of your time here now in this great programming. You've been shared a wealth of information and some great strategies and ideas for making sure that as you're thinking about preparing marketing, how to prepare marketing that will not only be effective, but also meet the compliance requirements with some of the great information that Ginger and Jonas have shared with you today. Now, the reality of the situation is knowledge without action is useless. There's no value to the ideas you've experienced today if you don't actually do something with them. So the last thing I want to do is challenge you to put these ideas in action before you leave this program. Literally take 30 seconds to a minute before you pick up that next phone call, before you respond to that next email. Take 30 seconds and go through these 4 quick questions. 1, what was the most valuable thing you heard in today's program? Of course, all attendees, all registrants will receive a copy of the recording, a copy of the PowerPoint, as well as some of the resource links and guides that Ginger mentioned to you earlier in the program. You'll get all that information within about 24 to 48 hours from the close of today's webinar. It does take a little bit of time behind the scenes to reformat the video so that it'll play in a streaming format properly. But by the end of the day, Thursday, you should receive in your inbox an email that has links to the video and all that other stuff. So just pick one. What is the most important idea you want to implement right away? Second, what action do you need to take to make that a part of your daily business? Third, by when will you have that action implemented? And 4, who is going to be your accountability partner? Now, back in 1998, Brigham Young University did a research study about what it really took to put ideas in action, and they figured out there were 4 key characteristics. 1 is create a goal, 2 is create an action plan, 3 is put a deadline on the action plan, and 4 is find somebody to hold you accountable to that deadline, that knows your action plans and will follow up with you as that deadline approaches to make sure that you follow through. The whole idea of it, guys, is it's so easy to break the promises we make to ourselves. It's so much harder to break those promises we make to somebody else. So who is going to be that person that you trust, respect, and honor enough to feel a significant amount of pressure and obligation to complete an action item on time that you've established? If you need help finding that accountability partner, that's a lot of what we do at Maximum Acceleration. If you're interested in finding out more about that Maximum Acceleration coaching program, group coaching programs, the on-site one-on-one training, any of our home study course materials, or the one-on-one program, the best starting point is go ahead and take advantage of one of those one-on-one strategy sessions. Just go to mxlcoach.com/strategy, fill out the information on that form, and we'll get you set up and scheduled for one of those appointments with one of our clients or coaches. Otherwise, if you want to go ahead and just let us know through the Q&A that you would like to take advantage of one of those strategy sessions, go ahead and post that here in the Q&A platform that you'd like a strategy session, along with the best phone number and email address for our team to be able to get a hold of you for scheduling. Otherwise, we're going to hang out for just a few more minutes here to address any questions. I'll kind of give this as a last call. If you'd like any additional questions answered by our panelists today or by any of myself or the rest of the team here at Maximum Acceleration, please go ahead and feel free to post those in the Q&A. We're going to leave the platform open for just a few more minutes here. And then I guess we'll go ahead and turn, kind of reverse the order. But Jonas, do you have any final comments or thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience today?
I just appreciate the opportunity to come in and share a little bit about what we do, and know there's a lot of choices out there, and certainly send out those lists to the people that are on today's call so they have a good choice. And thanks for listening.
Awesome. And Ginger, the same courtesy to you. Any final thoughts, comments, or suggestions you'd like to leave with our audience today?
Well, I think, first of all, Eric, thank you for having us on and getting the information out there. I think that's probably the number one thing we can focus on is making sure everything you're doing is compliant is important, number one. But number two is to find out some of the areas you can push the envelope on, because I think sometimes companies are not doing things that they could be doing just because they're afraid of it. And so if you want a marketing service agreement, if you want to be able to do more in advertisement to build your business, do it. But just make sure you're doing it correctly, and if you need help in that, obviously we can help you to do that, to answer your questions and to get out there and build the business. I hear people are getting busy, which I'm excited about, and so we want to go out there and build that. And I think, Eric, the next thing we can do maybe in a couple months is kind of talk about some of the other advertising things that they can do, other ideas for maybe education we talked about before, things like that. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon.